This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers were on the field for the first practice of minicamp earlier today. Center Elton Jenkins did report for camp, but did not practice as he and the team try to work out a new contract for him. Also missing, obviously, cornerback Jair Alexander. The team released him yesterday after 7 seasons. He had played in just 16 of a possible 37 games last 2 years. GM Brian Gutekunst was asked why they decided to cut him instead of hoping he could stay healthy this time around.
Yeah, I think obviously we've done that the past few years, and it hasn't really worked out for us. I think as we went through it was just something, we looked at a lot of different angles, what might be right for the club, and this is kind of where we ended up. But again, it was no bad blood. It's just kind of one of those things where over the last couple of years it hasn't worked out exactly like the ones who, not for no fault of anybody, just injuries kind of took some games away from them.
Gutekunst said that despite taking all offseason to come to a final decision, there wasn't a lot of drama between the two sides. Meanwhile, Gutekunst also commented on Aaron Rodgers deciding to play for the Steelers, who will face the Packers in October. Said he's excited to see what the quarterback can do, and said it's going to be a big challenge for them to face Pittsburgh with him at quarterback. Green Bay will be back on the field tomorrow for practice number 2 of minicamp.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
They believe in protecting the families and children in our farming communities. Kids love to be included in the daily farm activities, but accidents can happen quickly. Reduce the chance of injury by making sure your farm is a safe environment for adults and kids. Learn more at ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers are calling up one of their top prospects, pitcher Jacob Mizorowski. He's ranked as the 4th best prospect in the farm system. Fastball can hit 103 miles per hour. Milwaukee facing off against Atlanta again tonight at American Family Field. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Just I'll touch on Jair real quick. It was just something, we looked at a lot of different angles, what might be right for the club, and this is kind of where we ended up. But again, it was no bad blood. It's just kind of one of those things where over the last couple of years it hasn't worked out exactly like the ones who, not for no fault of anybody, just the injuries kind of took some games away from them. Really appreciative of what Jair gave our organization. He's a great player. Always tough to see those guys move on, but it's kind of part of the business. We wish him well. He'll be missed.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Brian Gutekunst up there in Green Bay just a couple of hours ago, around lunchtime today, talking about Jair Alexander and a couple of other questions and answers about whatever else is on the mind of Packers fans and whatever is kind of leading the story right now with the Packers mandatory minicamp getting started. So mostly Jair. They talked a little bit about Elton Jenkins and some other things, but it was mostly Jair because that's mostly today what people want to know about. And I am appreciative of Brian Gutekunst doing 6 or 7 minutes with the Packers beat. So that's where we will begin tonight, but a lot of other things on the table. This should be a fun show. You heard in Zach's update, the Brewers calling up Jacob Mizorowski today, which is exciting. I'm excited to watch him pitch. I don't know that it'll do much to change the fortune of the 2025 Brewers, which is why I'm not doing backflips, but I'm clicking my heels. I'm excited. I don't know if it was Brett and Tosa or if it was another Brewers account that I followed who made a good point earlier in a tweet that I saw. It's like, at this point, you're just wasting bullets. He's cut down on his walks. His command has gotten better. He's truly grown into a starting pitcher who's ready to be at the major league level. Whether or not he's coming up and filling an immediate need, whether or not he's going to come up and change the fortunes of the major league club, that's almost secondary. He's just ready, and you're just wasting bullets with him at the minors at this point. And I thought, I think it was Brett and Tosa who tweeted that, but whoever it was a great point. You're just wasting bullets having him down in AAA. So call him up. I think we've passed whatever early June threshold needs to be crossed in order for the club to, manipulate the service time and the arbitration schedule the best they can. So that's on the table tonight. I also have some bigger, more far-reaching thoughts about the Brewers and how they've played on this homestand so far, which is, I guess, in short, crappy. They've played crappy and the offense has gone dead again. So I want to talk about that. I also have a couple of comments from Aaron Rodgers, who met with the media in Pittsburgh today for the first time. You might be thinking, Grant, why? He's not our problem anymore. It's not anyone's problem. We don't need to follow Aaron Rodgers. The son of a bee is interesting. And as long as he is in the NFL and as long as he is going to talk into a microphone, I will be there. I will be compelled. I will be entertained. So no, we're not going to dwell on Aaron Rodgers today, but I caught a couple of comments about his decision to come to Pittsburgh, his decision to play football, period. And also, I guess he's married. He has a wedding ring, and he talked about that. So we'll have a little fun with that at some point during tonight's show as well. A lot of different things on the table, so it should be fun. It's Tuesday, which means the show is presented by Inn on the River in Trempealeau. We're appreciative of their support. And this is the time of year where you got to go spend a weekend on the river in the western portion of the state, whether you want to hit Elmaro Vineyard or golf at Trempealeau Mountain or take the boat out on the river to go fishing or to go cruising or hit a couple supper clubs. Sullivan's right up the road. You can literally walk there. It's an awesome place to stay. So inontheriverwi.com. The number, if you're watching on the simulcast as well, is right there on the screen, 608-534-7784. And I'm still a fan of, if you need tickets or you need to book a room or something, I still like calling someone on the phone because they'll be able to give you that personal service that will exactly get you the service and fill the need that you need. They'll put you in the right room and kind of help best guide you in your getaway to Western Wisconsin. So we appreciate In on the River. And they bring you the Wisco Sports Show every day, but especially on Tuesdays. Let's start with a little housekeeping, because anytime a general manager speaks to the media, there's something important in there. Brian Gutekunst is not going to talk to the media just to talk to the media. Head coach will talk scheduled. He makes scheduled appearances throughout the week. And there are some Matt LaFleur press conferences where it's like, okay, that's nothing really earth-shattering there, nothing pressing that we need to listen to. Jordan Love meets with the media once or twice a week during the season. He is a politician at the podium. He is not Aaron Rodgers. There is usually nothing interesting in a Jordan Love press conference, which is not a bad thing, but for the sake of talk radio, if it's not interesting, I'm going to leave it alone. But when the general manager speaks with the media, it's to address the end of a season, it's to address the draft, it's to speak at the combine, or it's to talk about some major transaction like releasing your number one corner, who not that long ago, you gave a contract at the top of the cornerback market to be your number one outside boundary corner, and it just hasn't worked out. And you heard in the intro Brian Gutekunst talk about, and I agree, it's not really anyone's fault. It's not to say that there's not frustration on both sides. I'm sure Jair is frustrated that he is in this spot. I'm sure the Packers are frustrated that they're in this spot, especially because they were just in the spot with David Bakhtiari not that long ago. It's like, man, we drafted this player. The player was excellent. We wanted them to be a part of this team for a long time. And then their body gave out. They're frustrated. They can't play. We're frustrated. They can't play. We're frustrated that we're paying all this money. And it just has to come to an end, even though it's not necessarily the fault of anyone in particular. I don't really fault Jair. I don't really fault the Packers. Maybe the Packers could have gone about this a little different. Like yesterday, I said 90%, this is nobody's fault. If we want to nitpick at the 10%, well, the Packers could have maybe done this a little bit differently. Maybe they could have done this to facilitate a trade, or maybe they could have publicly gone about it. Sure. But the crux of this is Jair was awesome. They paid him money that would warrant, or would be warranted from an awesome player. And then it just didn't work out. I think 90%, a big piece of this pie is just bad luck and nobody's fault. And we can nitpick a little bit more. We'll always nitpick the Packers. But a little housekeeping. Let's hear from Brian Gutekunst. He was asked, why release him? Why release him? You're going to eat money this year, and the Packers, I believe, are going to take all 17 million or so, whatever the total was. I'm not really obsessed with the exact dollar figures. They're going to eat, I think, between 15 and 20 million on the dead cap this year. They're going to take it all at once. So the question, and I think it's a reasonable one, if you're eating money on the cap this year anyways, why not just keep them and hope that it works out? Here's Brian Gutekunst.
Yeah, I think obviously we've done that the past few years, and it hasn't really worked out for us. I think as we went through it was just something, we looked at a lot of different angles, what might be right for the club. This is kind of where we ended up. But again, it was no bad blood. It's just kind of one of those things where over the last couple of years, it hasn't worked out exactly like the ones who, not for no fault of anybody, just the injuries kind of, took some games away from them.
So Gutekunst is very formal, very professional. He doesn't say anything that doesn't need to be said. He doesn't ramble. He's not in his feelings. But you can find little things where it's like, yeah, I can tell how he feels. I can feel the frustration, or I can feel him right there being very direct. The first comment in that 22-second answer when he's asked, well, why not just keep him this year and see what happens? He basically said, that's what we've been doing. And it's been pissing us off. We've been lighting money on fire.
Yeah, I think obviously we've done that the past few years, and it hasn't really worked out for us.
Well, that's what we've been doing. Hasn't really worked out for us. Again, very cordial answer, very formal. There's no emotion in there, but you can read between the lines a little bit. And he's like, yeah, actually, that's been the strategy the last 2 years. We haven't been happy with his contract in a minute. And we would have loved to pay him less last year or the year before. We haven't been happy with this player or the situation in a while. And we just weren't going to do it again this year. We've been doing that. It hasn't worked out for us. Gutekunst asked, was there ever a point where you thought he could return? Even though, since the combine, we knew he was on the block. We knew that there were lots of different options, but was there any point that you thought actually he might be back?
Yeah, I thought there's always that possibility. I think you try to keep all the options open. But again, he wasn't here. So I think that was part of it as well. So
very political answer. There's not much there. What took so long? Gutekunst, talk about the timeline. Talk about why this dragged out for really, 4.5 months? Because we first learned of the Packers' intentions to trade him to the combine, which would have been mid-February. It's now mid-June. So let's just use nice, easy round numbers. February to March, April, May, June. That's 4 months. So what gives? Why did it take so long?
Yeah, well, I think we wanted to give it as much time as, again, he's a really good player. And so I think we wanted to give it as much time as we could. I think as he came in, had really good conversations with him on Sunday, and I just kind of felt this was what was best.
That, and I don't think I need to translate, but it's pretty clear that he's like, we didn't want to do this. Why did we wait so long? Because we were trying to avoid this. I'm tripping over my words. I'm rewatching House right now. We're in season 4. Oh, it's so good. It's such a good show. And at some point, it's actually in season 1. If you haven't seen the show, nobody even watches a show in 2025, which is a shanda. It's a tragedy. But in season 1, a new administrator shows up at the hospital with a big checkbook and says, I'm gonna put money into this hospital, but if you're gonna take my money, you're gonna operate by my rules, and I'm gonna run this place like a business. And now, House, you don't tell House how to run his. And the administrator tells House, you need to fire somebody on your staff. And he just drags it out and kicks his feet and avoids him and hides and just puts it off because he doesn't want to do it. Right? He wants to try ABC 1, 2, 3, XYZ. He wants to explore every avenue before eventually having to do the thing that he doesn't want to do. I think the Packers have been in the same situation here. It's like, we didn't want to do this. So you ask why it took so long. It's because we explored every possible avenue to try to avoid doing exactly this. That's why it took so long. And had Jair and Jair's camp not forced the Packers' hands, they might have dragged this out for another month. And I played you that clip from Ryan Wood yesterday, and I guess I can dig it back up for those who missed it. But the Packers wanted to avoid this so bad, and it was a savvy move from Jair and Jair's camp to say, well, we're showing up to mandatory minicamp, man. We're under contract. I'm showing up. And the Packers obviously don't want that. They can't have that. So there's a line drawn in the sand. Had Jair and his camp basically said, yeah, we'll stay home, whatever, figure out what you need to figure out, the Packers probably would have taken another month or so to figure this out. They would have kept this going. They would have kept, crossing their fingers in a weird way that somewhere around the league, somebody gets injured or something happens where another team needs a corner. Somebody gets desperate. And Jair and Jair's camp basically drew a line in the sand and said, well, no, we're going to come to camp. So either have us or get it figured out by then. And the Packers got it figured out. They cut him. Here's Ryan Wood from yesterday on the Bill Michaels Show talking about that.
Brian Gutekunst did not want to lose Jair Alexander for nothing. He did not want this outcome, which they're ultimately coming to. And knowing that, I think it's an incredibly savvy move on Jair Alexander's part to kind of put in a hard and clear deadline. Because otherwise, other than telling the Packers, hey, I'm coming to mandatory minicamp, I'm going to get fined per NFL rules if I'm not there, which of course the Packers could have waived the fine, but I'm coming. And they couldn't keep him from coming to Green Bay. That implemented this deadline.
So the Packers, again, when Gutey talks about why it took so long, they probably would have taken another month. The Packers probably would have been happy to take this into July, maybe even August, had Jair allowed them to and said, well, I'll just stay home. It's fine. You find me. I'm good. I'll just wait. And Jair's camp essentially drew a line in the sand and said, we'll come to camp. So either deal with that or cut us or trade us or whatever you got to do. But we're showing up on June 9th. So figure it out. And the Packers said, well, we can't have that. So they ended up having to cut him 4 months after this started. But I think they would have taken another 4 months had Jair's camp afforded them that. Here's a kind of a follow-up to a question that was sometimes in press conferences, a question will be asked and the general manager will find a way to kind of circumvent the question. So we talked earlier, and I played you that comment, why release him? You're taking a hit on the dead cap anyway. Why not just ride it out? And he said, well, that's what we've been doing. So here's kind of a follow-up on that. Why not keep him and just let him play? He's taking up so much dead cap anyways. You're not saving any money. Why do this?
Yeah, well, again, I think, over the last 4 years, there's been a lot of games missed. And I just think for what that amount of money is, I think that's a lot to pay for a guy who hasn't been able to get out on the field. Again, it's not his fault. It's just something that kind of transpired. So we just we're looking for something different.
So two kind of not snippy, but through these first couple of answers, you can hear two things where Brian Gutekunst makes it very clear how he feels. The first being, we've been trying to ride it out with him the last couple of years, and it hasn't worked out for us. That's why. And then in that answer, that's a lot of money to give to someone who's never playing. Like, I would rather pay the $17 million to be done with this than the $17 for him to be on IR and then money into the future, which would have been the reality had he remained on the roster. And even if they cut him at the end of the year, well, then there's monetary implications going into the future. Now that won't be the case. They're going to eat it all on the cap in 2025. Here's a question about what were some of the obstacles to a trade? Why do you think that no team jumped at the opportunity to trade for him?
Certainly those were things we talked about. I won't get into any of the details, but yeah, somebody had to offer me something for the trade.
And another follow-up on that, teams expected us to release him. They knew that we were eventually going to have to cut him anyway, so why would they make the trade?
I think in these situations, sometimes that's the case. And I think the salary was a big, part of it too.
Teams didn't want to trade for that salary. And lastly, and this will kind of jump us into our next segment. I'm not just going to dwell on Jair for the entire show because we could do that last night. But we have some housekeeping. Again, Gutey talking directly about it. So we're going to get that information and get as much knowledge from the horse's mouth, as much knowledge as we can. They have $45 million in cap space this year. And Gutey in this answer kind of hints that, we have some ideas on how to use that money. So this will kind of launch us into the rest of the show.
Yeah, that'll change here pretty quickly because we did some things, take more of that on this year than next year. I think we'd like to keep next year's open as much as possible. So that'll change here in a little bit. We feel very good about our cap situation, our flexibility to do things not only with our players here, but if anything comes across that we may want to do. So we're like we've talked about in the past, we're in a pretty good spot right now. We'd like to keep it that way. But I think some things will come across today that you'll see that we'll be taking more of that on this year.
So they're taking all the dead cap now, and they're in a good spot with their salary cap. They got a lot of flexibility and a lot of space. And in that answer, you hear Gutey say, if anything comes up, we'll have the flexibility to do that, and then hints at players in-house. So I hear two things there. Extensions of players who are here, and also maybe the outside possibility that if other players around the league, expensive players or players who are looking for a new contract elsewhere become available, well, maybe, just maybe, with their newfound flexibility, that opens up some doors for acquisitions. Like Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, et cetera, et cetera. Those doors are cracked open just enough for me to continue to go there. And if you have thoughts on what you heard from Brian Gutekunst, Bo Melton was playing corner today. I know a lot of Packers fans are concerned about the cornerback position, so we'll address that and any of your other thoughts on the Packers on the other side. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels here. Are your two wheels revved up? Because here it comes. The Big River Rally where the river meets the road. It rolls into La Crosse on June 27th and 28th. Join us for a weekend packed with action. Stunt shows, a killer bike show, food trucks, all kinds of awesome vendors. Friday, Rod's River Run with Texas Hippie Coalition lighting up the stage that night. Then Saturday is the Big River Rally Ride. Miles and miles of pure freedom. Then Saturday night, Drowning Pool rocks the house. Grab your tickets right now. BigRiverRally.com. That's BigRiverRally.com. And I'll see you there.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
We feel very good about our cap situation, our flexibility to do things not only with our players here, but if anything comes across that we may want to do. So we're like we've talked about in the past, we're in a pretty good spot right now. We'd like to keep it that way, but we'll make. I think some things will come across today that you'll see that we'll be taking more of that on this year.
One more time, that's Brian Gutekunst earlier today. Packers mandatory minicamp underway. I got a ton of audio. I don't know that I need to dip into many comments from Matt LaFleur or Jordan Love, just because, I don't know, nothing that interesting, nothing that sexy. But when a general manager speaks, especially directly about a transaction or a draft or what they're doing at the combine, like that's always worth listening to. 3 things in that answer that are worth noting, and I'll point them out again. At the very end, you hear him alluding to the fact that Jair's dead cap number, and I thought I understood this correctly beforehand. I still think I understand it correctly. There was going to be dead money spread out between this year and next year. And based on what Ken Ingalls and others were tweeting about and based on Gutey's comment, they're taking that hit this year. All of it in the here and now. Now, even through that, their salary cap situation is pretty good. They got some walking around money, and Gutey alludes to 2 things in that answer. Anything we want to do with players that are here, which means we might want to extend some guys or redo contracts of guys that are here on the team already currently. Gives us flexibility to do that. And he also, very loosely in there, and I'll play it one more time just to make sure we all have it. Anything else we want to do? And I think, especially for the purposes of Sports Talk Radio, that leaves the door open to, well, if we want to trade for somebody or acquire someone who's going to need a big deal, Trey Hendrickson maybe, we also have the flexibility to do that.
We feel very good about our cap situation, our flexibility to do things not only with our players here.
Anything
comes across that we may want to do. So
anything that comes across that we may want to do. Interesting. Your thoughts on this? Bo Melton was playing corner today, too. That's the next step of the Jair Alexander conversation. And we got into that a little bit yesterday. I was like, okay, Jair is gone. Let's talk about that. But also, now that he's not here anymore, I mean, who's playing corner for the Packers in 2025? Your thoughts on any of that? 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Clemhead Mike.
Hey, Clemhead, what's going on?
Oh, not much. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I am pleased this week because this is a pretty quiet portion of the sports calendar, and this Jair story, and then Rodgers today is talking about how he's married, and I have a little bit of that audio. And I know you folks, your favorite topic is not the NBA Finals, but even the NHL, the Stanley Cup Finals have been good. That's on the table for us too.
Yeah, I guess I've been following the Packers and Brewers right now. It's I emailed Bill Friday and I texted him yesterday. was hoping he'd read it on the air. Yesterday was my 50th anniversary of my first day of boot camp.
First day of boot camp. Holy cow.
First day in the Navy, yeah. It was also my first time ever in my life that I got woke up at 4:30 in the morning with a guy banging an aluminum bat inside a metal garbage can and calling me a mother effer.
Oh.
So there went my quiet suburban Chippewa Falls life.
Yeah, that's quite the difference. I mean, I've never had that. The cat scratches on our door most mornings, so that wakes me up. But that's even a little bit easier. The cat's not yelling cuss words at me.
Call me lots of names. Anyway.
Well, congratulations on your anniversary. Thank you for your service always.
Thank you. I think the Packers, with what they do with Jair, they finally, they picked at it and picked at it and picked at it, but it's like pulling off a Band-Aid. I'm going to use one of your analogies because you're the master of the analogy. They picked at it and said, oh, heck with it. Let's just rip it off. And they just ripped it off finally after months of picking at it and pussyfooting around and said, this isn't going to work. We'd like to keep the guy. He's great, but we just can't pay a guy to not play. So I understand. I was against it. I actually wanted to keep Jair because I think he makes the Packers better, but you can't pay a guy all that money with no performance. And I never understood dead cap space and all that stuff and trades and free agency. That's why I turned down the job as the Packers general manager a couple of years ago.
He said no thanks. It bores you. That's why. Yeah.
We got lots of amateur general managers on on YouTube and the live stream and everything. So they didn't need me. So anyway, I just thought I'd say I think they did the right thing. I was against it at first, but Jair's camp not willing to dicker even a little bit. I mean, that just said that sent it for me. That's it. He's gone. I'm glad.
Well, and Peter Schrager of ESPN was on the McAfee show earlier today. Thank you again, Clemhead, for your service and happy anniversary. Thanks for the call. Schrager was on the McAfee show earlier today and basically said Jair's camp was not interested in a pay cut of any kind. I just don't know that it was going to happen in Green Bay. And that's why so many Packers reporters, I think Tom Silverstein most notably, was like, the die was cast early. This was mostly decided early. It's not that Jair's camp would play for 8, but the Packers were only going to 6. Like, I don't think this thing was ever close based on what we've read, especially since yesterday, because a lot of reporters and insiders were seemingly more comfortable putting stuff out yesterday, which is often the case, not just in sports, but I feel like in news and in reporting in general. Everybody has information and they've talked to people and they've heard things, but it doesn't always benefit them to put that stuff out. But once the story concludes and there's been a resolution, okay, well, here's some of the things that I heard throughout, the course of this thing. Here's maybe what I heard a month ago, and here's kind of how this process unfolds. We start to learn things after the fact. And I don't think that the two sides were ever in meetings saying, well, we could go up to 5. And then, the agent said, well, we're willing to do 8. Like, I don't think they ever got there. I don't think Jair's camp was ever willing to take a pay cut, it would seem, with the Packers. They were going to stick on their original contract or they were going to go elsewhere. That might backfire. I still have half a belief that it might, because as Tim from Sparta, look at Tim from Sparta all of a sudden as sources brought up on the show yesterday. No clue if this is true, but he heard from someone in the know who lives in Green Bay, who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows a guy, said the Packers were willing to pay $5 million base plus $500,000 per game played, past whatever it was, week 10. And then we did the math. So that means if he played every regular season game, he could make like $8.5 million plus then anything in the playoffs. So if the season went perfectly, and if Jair balled out and was healthy throughout, he could make upwards of $10 million, which is pretty solid. Let's say that is true, and the Packers actually gave Jair a chance to make solid money, and they didn't lowball like they have in the past. Then Jair's camp must feel pretty confident that they can go somewhere else and get real money. And that's just not the league that I believe the NFL to be. That's not the league that I've known the NFL to be, right? The NBA, they'll throw 5 first-round picks and a max contract at anybody who's even close to being a superstar. The Philadelphia 76ers will go out in free agency and they'll spend mountains of money on Paul George, even though he's probably overrated, injury-prone, and over the hill. In the NFL, it's brutal. General managers don't give up a haul for someone they believe to be even slightly older than their prime, anybody who's had a slight injury risk, anybody who's an odd duck or a questionable personality or locker room presence, anybody who's played, oh, you've fallen off a little bit, oh, you used to be a superstar, we'll give you a conditional fifth. How does that sound? You know what I mean? Like, the NFL is cutthroat. So I'm still just having a hard time believing that there's a big time offer awaiting Jair out there somewhere. I don't think they would have said screw you to Green Bay if Green Bay was his best opportunity to make the most money. But maybe they did. I just think that's short-sighted and silly. If Green Bay's offering you $7 million and you say, well, screw you, I'll play somewhere else, and then you end up making $4 million, to me, that's a massive mistake. That's a huge mistake, because if Jair plays next year and is injury-riddled again, it's probably the last bit of substantial money he's going to get. So I would have tried to max it out this year. His camp must believe that Green Bay is not his only opportunity to do that. Otherwise, they're operating out of spite, which is bad business. The headline or the story that most Packers fans have locked onto today, because we did Jair yesterday, he was released yesterday, Bo Melton's playing corner. Bo Melton, who's a wide receiver for the Packers, the fourth or fifth best wide receiver probably on the roster. Maybe now, certainly now, I would think with Savion Williams and Matthew Golden, he's fallen further down the roster, although Christian Watson is hurt and Bo Melton plays some special teams too. But I don't know that at this moment in time, he should feel completely and totally secure about a roster spot. His brothers played corner. He's fast. There's reason to believe that, like, okay, maybe that makes sense. It's worth a shot, at least on the first day of mandatory minicamp in June. Brian Gutekunst talked a little bit about that. And again, some of this is housekeeping, because when a general manager speaks and gives us any information to go off of, we are going to listen. Here is Brian Gutekunst talking about depth at corner, specifically about Bo Melton lining up and playing corner today. Let's talk about that. Here's Brian Gutekunst first on the depth at corner. We'll do that first.
Well, those guys got to come through, right? I mean, I think that's like every team. I mean, some guys don't even have two. You know, we got three really good starting corners that we really like quite a bit. So, again,
that would be Nixon, Valentine, and Hobbs, who I don't think enough Packers fans are giving that move credit. Like, they went out and signed a legitimate, experienced starting corner. He's not a superstar, but he's not a seventh-round pick. He's not a rookie. Like, that's a legitimate. So I don't doubt that Gutey feels as though they have three very solid options at starting corner: Valentine, Nixon, and Hobbs.
I think we have more depth than most. But in those back, some of those guys are young guys that haven't played a lot of football. So, but that's usually the case. And I'm excited to see those guys get the opportunities and see what they can do.
Now, Micah Robinson and Kalen King are both injured. They weren't practicing today, which means they only would have had 3 or 4. If there's somebody else who I'm forgetting, 3 or 4 corners. That's a shallow room for a practice. So Bo Melton was playing. Here's Brian Gutekunst talking about that.
Yeah, it's funny that we've talked about this for a couple of years, just his skill set and how versatile he is. You watch him on teams and you're like, wow, like he could probably do some of that. And I think it was one of those things the coaching staff had kicked it around a little bit too. And I think it's just something we're going to kind of look at and see if that's a possibility. There's been very few guys that have done it in our league, but there have been a few. And when a guy's able to do that, it certainly helps your football team. Bo is, everything we want in a football player out there as far as his ability as a receiver, certainly on teams. And if he's able to add this to his arsenal, that makes him really, really, really valuable to us.
I think it's worth a shot. It's June. Why not? Go out there and try it, man. Like, give it a rip. This text says Bo Melton is fast and has no hands. Cornerback 1. This text from segment number 1 says, I'm actually watching House in 2025 for the first time, almost done outside of season 8. It's phenomenal. The last season gets a little weird. But it's one of the best shows of the last few decades, at least on network TV. It's awesome. So I would recommend. When we come back, any final thoughts on the Packers? I'll continue to take your texts and calls, and then I'll give you some thoughts on the Brewers. They called up Mizorowski today, or they announced they are. He should be starting on Thursday, according to Jeff Passan, which is interesting and exciting. I don't think it does that much for the major league club because pitching has been far from the issue. The offense is shut off again. And I think this homestand so far that started over the weekend has been an absolute miserable failure, and a miserable failure in a golden opportunity of a moment for the Brewers. This homestand is such a huge opportunity, and they're absolutely falling flat on their face. We can talk about that next as well.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Obviously, he's a real talented player and has produced, and I just love everything about the guy. How he shows up every day, ready to compete and give his best effort. Matter of fact, I showed some clips of him in the team meeting this morning, just of what he does, and you can always expect a lot of great things, whatever it is he's doing.
That's Matt LaFleur talking about Bo Melton, and the reason Bo Melton is a subject of conversation is because he was playing corner. Otherwise, no one's asking Bo Melton questions. At the press conference today, day one of mandatory minicamp, we're going to take a call, whether it be on the Packers or the Brewers. And then after this call, I do want to talk about the Brewers bringing up Jacob Mizorowski and the state of the team. They're in the middle of this homestand that's just been going horribly so far. They're a Caleb Durbin walk-off homer away from being winless so far on this homestand. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? All right, so as I was saying, we're going to get right into the Brewers. They announced earlier today, and it was reported by Jeff Passan that they plan to bring up Jacob Mizorowski, who's their top pitching prospect and one of the better pitching prospects in Major League Baseball, who throws 103. And the corresponding move, and it's funny, this was announced today during Bill's show. It was right when Chuck Freeman was on around 12:30, so in hour number 3, if you want their reaction, you can go find the podcast. And I got 2 calls immediately, and this happens a lot during Bill's show. People will call and says, I don't want to go in on the air. I just have a question. Or I don't want to go in on the air. Can you just pass something along to Bill? And I don't want to be mean. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to pass something along to Bill. I'm not going to. Hold on. Let me take a message as Bill's talking. I got the phone in my hand. All right. I'll be right with him. Hold on. Hang up the phone. Bill, Mike in Palmyra wants to know. It's like, I'm not going to do that. But I got a couple calls off the air. It was like, well, what's the corresponding move? Do you know what the corresponding move is? And to both of those callers, I'm like, Jacob Mizorowski is being called up to start on Thursday. And your question is which dog-ass reliever he will be replacing on the roster. Like, why? I understand why people are curious, but I try to avoid making phone calls as much as I can in my life. Sometimes it's not possible. I'm certainly not going out of my way to make a phone call to a radio station to ask the corresponding move of Jacob Mizorowski being brought up. Okay, whatever. So it's Grant Anderson went down. Easton McGee came up or joined the active or whatever it is. It seems as though they're going to go to a 6-man rotation. I wouldn't be surprised if Mizorowski comes up on Thursday and then immediately is sent back down, no matter how well he pitched. The classic Logan Henderson treatment. I'm excited to watch him pitch because he's proven everything that he can prove in the minors. The last kind of hurdle for him to clear as a starting pitcher, at least, is to cut down on the walks and the wasted pitches. Be more efficient, pound the zone. Don't be so wet and wild, giving away free bases. The Brewers don't need that. You can't be doing that as a starter in the major leagues, even if you throw 103. And he's really worked that out over the last couple of months. His development has really taken a nice leap. He's ready. And keeping him down there any longer, especially now that we're into mid-June and save the Brewers some money to wait a couple extra weeks, you might as well bring him up because there's no sense in him being down there. Excited to watch him Thursday. I love when a high prospect makes his debut in the major leagues. Always great, compelling television. Excited to watch, excited to talk about it on the show. My enthusiasm and my excitement kind of ends there because the Brewers are not starved for starting pitching right now. Their pitching has been excellent. Over the weekend against the Padres, their starters and their relievers were great. Against that lineup, they had an opportunity to win all 3 of the games, and their offense couldn't do enough. And now the story has been the same through 2 games against the Braves. They had double-digit strikeouts before the 6th inning was done last night. They can't hit. They have 5 runs through 4 games so far in this homestand. They can't hit. So I'm excited to watch Mizorowski, but he is not going to fix what's ailing this team. The same way that, like, Freddie Peralta, to me, does not have this much value on this version of the Brewers. If their offense returns to the form that we saw over that 8-game winning streak, okay. If Yelich is crushing and Churio is crushing and the other parts of their lineup are kind of doing their thing, I've kind of given up hope on Contreras figuring it out and playing at a high level through a broken finger because his bat speed is just fallen off a cliff. And I don't think that's going to improve because he has a broken finger And his success as an effective bat, especially without the home run power, we haven't seen that this year. His success as a hitter is reliant on his bat speed. That's one of the things that makes him such a great player. It's not launch angle. He hits the ball on the ground way too often. It's bat speed and exit velocity, and those two things have gone in the tank. So set Contreras to the side. The path for this team is Yelich being an MVP and Chourio being awesome. Those two things have not been the case since they've come home on this homestand, and the team has sucked. They've looked like as bad of an offense as you can see. Again, 5 runs through 4 games. Not going to cut it. And Jacob Misiorowski is not going to fix that. Just like Freddie Peralta doesn't really do much for me if he's going to go out there and pitch at a really high level and then get no run support, which is why I've flirted with the idea of trading him on the show. I know some of you don't like it. Sorry, it's not my job for you to like my takes. It's for you to... I guess I don't know what my job is, but my job is not to fluff you up, Brewers fans. It's sometimes to say, hey, if this Brewers team stinks and they can't score, then Freddie Peralta probably isn't of much use to them. They have a ton of other starters who can go out there and pitch 5 or 6 innings and give up a run or two, and then the Brewers can lose 2-1. Like, they got a lot of guys who can do that. So the same reason why I'm not super high on Freddie Peralta's future with the team at this moment in time is the same reason I'm not like doing complete and total backflips over Jacob Misiorowski joining the major league club. This homestand so far has been just about as disappointing as you could be. Like, I don't know that the Brewers could let me down harder in any other way. They win 8 in a row, and they rip their way through Philly. They beat up on Boston, who stinks, but like, they win 8 in a row, and the offense comes alive, and Yelich comes alive, and Chourio comes alive, and Sal Frelick is doing Sal Frelick things, and Durbin and Ortiz, for the most part, still really blow, but we were managing that because the rest of the lineup was doing their thing. You win 8 in a row, you have an off day, and you come home for the longest homestand of the year. A big series against the Padres, and then a series against the Braves, a team with some talent, but they haven't been able to put it all together. You're a Caleb Durbin walk-off away from getting swept by the Padres, and you get blasted. The offense might as well have not even shown up to the ballpark last night. They had double-digit strikeouts before the 6th inning was even done. Just helpless, feeble offensive performances so far on this homestand. And it was a homestand that was this golden opportunity. You found your offense against Boston and then especially against Philly. You put it on the Reds because that's what you do. Now you come home after a day off with the longest homestand of the year. The fans are reinvigorated. The ballpark's going to be bumping. It's starting to feel like summer, and you suck. Really disappointing. This is a golden opportunity of a week, and through 4 games, the Brewers have scored 5 runs. It's really, really, really disappointing. Murphy has made some gaffes, but I don't know if they've been gaffes that have costed them games, because if the offense can't score, what does it make a difference if Pat Murphy leaves Peralta in or pulls him for Zastryzny, or like, why are you using that guy to face Manny Machado? Well, if they can't score, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So we can bellyache about all these different things, but the Brewers offense has gone back in the tank, and it's gone back in the tank in a week where there was so much opportunity. There was so much promise. You just played your best 2-week stretch of the season. You had an off day, and then the longest homestand of the summer. It's all coming together, or it should be, or it could be, and it hasn't. 5 runs through 4 games. That is not going to cut the mustard. So I'm excited for Misiorowski to come up. And if the Brewers offense shows up and the bats come alive tonight, then we'll have a different conversation tomorrow. But today we have a show to do tonight, and I just can't believe how disappointed I've been by this club so far in this homestand when everything was kind of lined up for him, and they're just feeble. 608-321-1670 if you have anything to add on the Brewers front. Otherwise, plenty more Packers talk, especially in hour number 2, and a little Aaron Rodgers audio as well, because he met with the media in Pittsburgh, and it's just fun to listen to that old guy talk. I still enjoy it. So I'm going to play a little bit of that at some point. More of your thoughts on the Brewers, or if you want to get into the back into the Packers, we can do that next as well. 608-321-1670 next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
You got to put them together. You got to string them together, and that's what makes him so good. You punch out that many. Not sure exactly how many punched out. I'm going to say 10.
More.
11, something like that. I mean, he's that good.
It's Pat Murphy on Chris Sale. Why did I even turn the game on last night? I bumped into a coworker who's on Twitter, by the way. I think his handle is Worst Brewers Fan. Very negative. A joy to follow and interact with online. Bumped into me in the hallway yesterday. Said, think the Bats get going against Sale tonight? I'm like, no, of course not. A lefty and a good lefty? Like, it doesn't even matter if they're good, but oh my God, a good lefty on top of it? Like, absolutely not. Chris Sale last night, the Braves beat the Brewers 7-1, but it was over at like 2 or 3-1. Chris Sale, season high 11 strikeouts, and I think he had those through the 6th. I don't know that he got strikeouts in the 7th. I guess I could check the play-by-play. I don't know what it's going to add, but might as well. I brought it up. The Brewers in the bottom of the 7th. Yeah, Cameron single, Frelick fielder choice, Durbin flied out to right, Ortiz flied out to left. So I guess that's a positive. In Sale's 7th inning of work, the Brewers didn't strike out. 1, 2, 3. Pat Murphy in that soundbite. I'll play it one more time, talking about how we need to string together at bats.
You got to put them together. You got to string them together, and that's what makes him so good. You punch out that many. Not sure exactly how many punched out. I'm going to say 10, something 11, something like that. I mean, he's that good.
See, when you say string together at bats, you're implying that there were any at bats that were any good. Because if there weren't any good at bats, you wouldn't say we need to string together at bats. We'd say we need to have better at bats. The first inning, there was a little action. Churios singles. Contreras grounds out, Yelich infield single, Hoskins strikeout. I suppose in that inning, you could say, well, Churios singled to center. Contreras needs to string together a good at bat. We need a second good at bat in a row. Now, Churio was caught stealing, so let's get past the first inning. I suppose you could make the case in the first inning, you need to string together at bats. Second inning, Cameron strikeout, Frelick ground out, Durbin pop out. Okay. Bottom of the third, Ortiz double, Turang strikeout, Churio fly out, Contreras single, Yelich strikeout. Okay, I suppose we could use one more good at bat in that inning, but that's about it. The bottom of the fourth, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. The fifth, fly out, foul out, strikeout. The sixth, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. You see what I'm saying? Do you get the point that I'm so obnoxiously driving at here? When you say string together at bats, you are implying that somewhere in the game there was at least one or two good at bats. And I'm telling you that last night that wasn't really the case. Like, they just didn't have a hope and a prayer, and it's because their team doesn't have that many good hitters on it. Yelich is good, but his performance has waxed and waned, and these days he looks clueless, absolutely clueless against a lefty. And Churio has a lot of good skills, but I think he's immature as a player, and I think a pitcher like Sale, albeit righty-lefty, knows exactly how to capitalize on that. Contreras is playing, like, he's playing limited. He's playing with one hand tied behind his back. Hoskins had a pitch or two last night, and I think Levering pointed it out on the broadcast, where Hoskins got a pitch, he guessed fastball, he guessed the location, and he fouled it back. And you could tell he was bothered. And Levering did a really good job talking about this on the television broadcast on the FanDuel channel, because he knew that's probably the only pitch I'm going to get. And against guys like Chris Sale, you might get one pitch, and if you get that pitch and you guess that pitch and you make a play on that pitch and you miss it, you're basically toast. So Hoskins strikes out a lot, although he's hit better for average this year. He had one moment where he thought, okay, maybe, but even if he hits it out of the ballpark, the Brewers, lose 7-2 instead of 7-1. This offense just is brutal right now, and it's really disappointing. And I'll say this one more time, and I'll hammer this home one more time before we break at 5 o'clock. We can get back to the Packers talk. It's so disappointing because the Brewers for 2 weeks played their best baseball of the year. They strung together 8 wins, and then even after a loss, they still were able to secure the last series of that road trip against Cincinnati. Then they have an off day coming home. You have 10 games at home. The fan base is excited once again. Look at what Yelich is doing. It's starting to feel like summer. Assuming Mark Atanasio's wife is not in the crowd, they might actually open up the roof and the panels. This could be it. This homestand could be the moment where the season really starts to take off, and this team could maybe realize some potential. We all know that there's a little untapped potential on this team. I don't think anybody believes that this is a team that could, win the NL, but they're a team that should be better than we've seen for long stretches so far through the first couple of months. And we thought this is the homestand where it will be realized. It's all coming together. It's all lined up. And they could not have fallen flatter on their face harder if they tried, other than a Caleb Durbin walk-off, which, by the way, welcome back to Orlando Arcia. Crummy hitter, but kind of sneaky clutch, which I'll take at the bottom of the lineup. It beats the hell out of a crummy hitter who's not clutch, which is Joey Ortiz. I would prefer Durbin to the alternative. The problem is the alternative is also on the team. So, pardon me if my heart and my loins are not on fire for this team when I see the Brewers, due up for the crew on the bottom ticker of the FanDuel channel, and it says, due up next, Durbin, Ortiz, Turang. It's like, oh, good. No way I'm getting up out of this seat. And last night, I just go for evening walks quite a bit, especially this time of year, because I sit in the studio all day. I don't get a lot of chance to get outside and to get fresh air. So typically my daily routine, I come home, I make some food. I am normally the cook or the chef in our house. There's some nights where we just, warm something up. Like last night, I got home, I made some pasta. We ate, we laughed. I watched a little bit of the Brewers. I was intent on watching on the FanDuel channel at least through the 8th because I wanted to see the tavern of the game. And thank God I waited because it was an Ettrick. And then I had to listen to Rock and Levering talk about how they didn't know where Ettrick was. It was the only highlight of the game. And then after that, I went on a walk because I like going on a post-dinner walk. And it was a beautiful night. And I was listening to Lane Grindle and Josh Mauer on my walk. I'm like, I can't do this. This is depressing. This has been a really depressing homestand so far. If you have anything to add to that, I will get to you right on the other side. Otherwise, we'll get back to the Packers. First day of practice, open to the media at organized, or not organized team activities, but mandatory minicamp earlier today. And a little bit more audio that we can pick through from both Gutey and Matt LaFleur in hour number 2. We'll be right back after Zach's update. 2 minutes, no commercials.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
About a day after news broke that the Packers were cutting cornerback Jair Alexander, GM Brian Gutekunst spoke with reporters this morning as the team held its first practice of minicamp. Gutekunst said it wasn't an easy decision, but they didn't feel there was another option, considering how much time Alexander had missed the last 2 years due to injury and his large salary cap number. Because of those injuries, he also knows what the team looks like without him, including seeing a lot of Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine the last 2 seasons, and then the signing of Nate Hobbs from Las Vegas in free agency. That gave him more comfort in making the move.
Really good about, obviously, the three guys that got the, I think combined have about 95 starts under their belt. Feel really good about that. Got some young guys I'm really interested to see compete for those kind of final roster spots. But no, I'm excited about where that group is. The three guys that have proven their ability in this league. I like their makeup, their toughness, their ability to play. So their versatility. So no, I'm excited about that group.
Meanwhile, Elton Jenkins did report for minicamp, but did not practice, instead working off to the side with a rehab group. Gutekunst wouldn't speak about any potential contract details or changes with him, though it's been reported that Jenkins stayed away from the offseason program as he looked for a new deal before moving from guard to center. Packers will be back on the field tomorrow for practice number 2 of minicamp.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
They believe in protecting the families and children in our farming communities. Kids love to be included in the daily farm activities, but accidents can happen quickly. Reduce the chance of injury by making sure your farm is a safe environment for adults and kids. Learn more at ruralmutual.com.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers and Braves continuing their series tonight at American Family Field. Braves snapped a 7-game losing streak last night with a 7-1 win. Milwaukee's now lost 4-6. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Just I'll touch on Jair real quick. It was just something, we looked at a lot of different angles, what might be right for the club. This is kind of where we ended up. But again, it was no bad blood. It's just kind of one of those things where over the last couple of years, it hasn't worked out exactly like the ones who, not for no fault of anybody, just the injuries kind of, took some games away from them. Really appreciative of what Jair gave our organization. He's a great player. Always tough to see those guys move on, but it's kind of part of the business. We wish him well. He'll be missed.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, the Wisco Sports Show, presented by Inn on the River in Trempealeau. Make it the place to stay. Make it your home base for your trip to Western Wisconsin this summer. For whatever reason, State Track was last weekend. I hope they got a little business off that. What a beautiful place to stay. It's right across from the river, right next door to the marina. So if you want to bring the boat, super easy. You can walk right over to the Trempealeau Hotel and all the shops and restaurants, including Sullivan's Supper Club, which is right around the corner. Trempealeau Mountain Golf, El Morro Vineyard, Perot State Park. If you're like me, I love going to do cool things outside, but I don't want to sleep outside. In on the river. Right in downtown Trempealeau, inontheriverwi.com, or give them a call, 608-534-7784. If you have a Brewers thought, more than happy to take your call. Otherwise, I think I'm reading the room. We want to get back to Packers talk, so we can do that. Some comments from Brian Gutekunst earlier today about the release of Jair, what it means for the roster currently and in the future, what it means for the salary cap and the financial health of the team. Also have a comment or two from Matt LaFleur that we can kind of use to add substance to our conversation. Bo Melton was playing corner today. How do you feel about that, Packers fan? 608-321-1672. Your calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
I feel like we're in Ladarius Gunther territory if that's happening.
You think it's that bad, Tony, in Texas?
Oh, it might be. Hey, Grant, it's been a while. Hey, I'm not abandoning Brewer talk. I got to say this. Arian Foster is a Brewer fan. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, so him and PFT Commenter and the whole, what is it, their podcast, Macro Dosing, they were all at the park last night?
Yeah, and he fell in love with that beautiful logo, the glove, the M and the B, which I love. I've always loved. And this is what Arian got to do. He got to meet Jackson Churio. He got to tailgate, and he also got to slide down Bernie's little chalet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What a day for a diehard Brewer fan.
What a day for, is that how he became a Brewers fan? I know that he's been kind of tweeting about this year, but was it just the logo?
I guess he's from New Mexico, so they don't have a team. So yeah. Hey, it's really funny. I was in Green Bay a couple of years ago, and Big Papi was playing blackjack next to me. I'm like, why the hell is Big Papi in Green Bay at a casino? And he goes, I'm a Packer fan. I'm like, you're a Packer fan? He goes, yeah. So I just looked him up, and I guess he went through the minor leagues through Green Bay.
Interesting.
You never know with these guys.
Any good-looking ladies with him?
No, it's Green Bay. No.
I mean, he could have brought them with, though, I guess was more.
I know you're anti Northwest Wisconsin anyway.
What are you talking about?
Hey, speaking about Green Bay and our guy Aaron Rodgers, why does Rodgers play football still? I've been thinking this through. Like, God, I'm a Rodgers guy, but at the same time, I understand people's faults or whatever. I get some of that stuff with Aaron, but why is he playing football still? I don't understand.
Well, I have that answer for you. I'll play it coming up in a little bit because he was asked that by the Pittsburgh media today, and he gave a very Aaron Rodgers answer. Let's just say that. So put a pin in that. We'll circle back to that in a little bit.
That's all I got, Grant. It's been a while. I've been, my AAU team just kicking ass through
busy.
Texas and Louisiana. I've been busy, man.
Getting big name recruits, NIL
Dating
deals.
moms,
I see it on Twitter.
NIL
You're
deals.
back with the moms?
Yeah. They come and go, Grant. Sometimes I piss them off. But,
you never stopped. What do you mean back with the moms? You never, not even in Lent did you ever stop, Tony?
It was a struggle during Lent, so we need to have Lent year round and turn me around. Anyway, good to talk to y'all. I heard Cone Roller yesterday. I got motivated to call. So
it's a good call from Cone yesterday. He brought it. Appreciate it, Tony. Thank you.
Cone was awesome.
He's the best. Thank you, Tony. Tony in Texas, everybody. Yes, Aaron Rodgers said specifically, here's why I am playing. I contemplated retirement. He gave an answer today. I'll play that in just a little bit, maybe after our next commercial break. But Tony's hinting Bo Melton playing corner today. Now, the funny thing about Ladarius Gunter, he was their number one corner. I feel like some people reacting to this on the internet, including the McAfee show today. I guess they did a segment and they featured a tweet from our friend Andy Herman. Good get for Andy. They're saying, oh my God, the Packers are playing a corner at wide receiver. Okay, well, yeah, maybe like the fourth or fifth corner position. They have Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine, and they just signed Nate Hobbs. Those aren't three superstars, but that's a room of cornerbacks. I know that's not a ringing endorsement, but again, what I keep telling you is they didn't have a superstar group of quarterbacks last year, and they were fine. I got bigger issues than corner. So if Bo Melton wants to try it out, knock yourself out. Go to town. That's what mandatory minicamp is for, especially when other guys are injured. What the hell? Give it a try. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hello?
Hello. Yes.
Hey, this is John from Sun Prairie.
John in Sun Prairie. What's up, John?
Just wanted to give a shout out to Sun Prairie East Baseball. They are currently taking Melton. They are on their way to state. Or they're taking it to Memorial, who beat a very good Middleton team earlier. Let's go Sun Prairie East on to state. Thanks, Grant. Love your show.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John, to Sun Prairie. Good luck to Sun Prairie. Where is state baseball? This is something that always interests me. Where is the state meet? Because cross country, oh God, I don't remember. I think it was in Rapids, the big course there. State football is at Camp Randall. State track, we just had that, is in lacrosse. Where's state baseball? I don't think it's in Madison. I don't know. I'm going to Google that. I didn't want to belabor the point with John. He had a point to make. I let him make it, and then he was getting out of there. But good luck to Sun Prairie. I do like that they took it to Middleton, and I assume he means Madison Memorial. I'm not sure. I'm not locked into high school baseball, but good luck to all the young men involved. 608-321-1670. I'm being told that it's in Appleton on the live stream. Interesting. All right. But we'll probably at the Timber Rattler Stadium. That's cool. Hey, remember when Craig Council's kid played in state baseball there and the whole state supported him and cheered for him? Remember that? That was funny. I'm not bringing it up for any reason. Just something I remember. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Craig from Whitehall.
Craig in Whitehall?
Yep.
Hell yeah.
First time caller, first time listener.
First time to both. I don't think we've ever had a caller from Whitehall before. Bill and I drove through Whitehall last week and I told him about Joe Diffie and he was mildly interested, but I think he was ready to be done in the car with me because I wanted to talk about Ettrick and beach corners. And he's just like, Grant, it's been fun, man, but I'm ready to be done dealing with you for the day.
Hey, there's nothing better than Trimble County.
You're telling me. So what's new? What's up with White? What's going on? I guess for lack of a better question for you.
Not much. I mean, just another beautiful, little rain this morning. Weather turned out to be pretty nice. Got the yard mowed. Just a typical day in the Midwest.
Did you say your name was Craig one more time?
Yeah.
Okay, Craig and Whitehall. Yep. Gotcha. Okay. Well, did you have a Packers thought or anything to add?
Yeah, I got a quick Packers thought,
Okay.
and I got a Brewers thought.
Okay.
My Packers thought is, has Jair signed with Green Bay West yet?
Minnesota? No, and I haven't seen the odds, but I can look that up.
Because it's been over 24 hours. They usually snatch up Packers like I'm not going to say like what because I'm on a radio station. And then my Brewer one is that so the other on Saturday I was watching the Giants game for a little bit, and they had Adames. They benched Adames. So my thought is, do you think we could take Durbin and Ortiz and maybe 5 pitchers and send them to San Francisco and bring Adames back? Because I think here's the thing. I think part of it is that Adames was the leader in that clubhouse, and everybody looked at him and he lightened that mood. And that last year that dugout just seemed like you're having fun. It's not there this year, and I think not having him, and I think he was a big fish in a little pond, and he went to San Francisco where he's just an average fish because everybody there's they've got some higher priced players than the Brewers do. And he just looks like he's kind of lost, and I just think it'd help out both teams.
So I'm sure it's a funny situation, Craig, and I appreciate the call. Thank you. Call back again sometime. Thank you for listening in Whitehall, Trempealeau County. I would imagine that San Francisco at this moment in time would like a mulligan on that deal. It's a long deal, so it has plenty of time to work out. And I don't doubt at all that the Brewers miss that personality and that energy in the clubhouse. They're not going to do that. And I don't know if you were seriously driving at that or just using it as a conversation point. Willy Adames to San Francisco was never something that made sense other than the money they were offering him. It's one of the biggest ballparks in baseball. And I don't know dimensions specifically to like left field because he's a power hitter for, from the right-handed side, but he's a fly ball reliant pitcher who's now hitting in one of the bigger boxes in major. Like it was never a good fit other than they paid him a ton of money. So go get your money. Even no qualms about that. Go get your money. The Brewers love his personality back. I'm sure the Giants would like a redo at this moment in time. There's time for that contract to change and for him to play better. You mentioned packaging up Durbin and a bunch of pitchers. I mean, I'd package Durbin and Ortiz and anything for just about anything and anybody at this moment in time. More from your call, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
What's up, Louie?
Hey, Grant. I'm just kind of hopping on here. She may have already talked about it, but
good.
I know the Brewers are bringing up Mizorowski for Thursday.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of setting the table to potentially trade Freddie here at the deadline, and I'm okay with it. Here's why. You get more for in-season trades, it seems like, than for off-season. I thought the haul for Corbin Burns and Devin Williams were both a little bit underwhelming. I think they need to do it in season. I think they'll get better. Hoskins is a free agent at the end of this year. Yelich is kind of up in the air. They have to get a big-time power, either outfielder or first baseman for third baseman. I think trading Freddie is the way to do it.
So I had not thought about this, Louie. This is a great call because everyone's jacked up about Mizorowski, and I'm excited to watch him. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited because he throws 103 and he's proven everything that he needs to prove in the minors. Like he's ready. So bring him up. I just don't think it helps the Brewers. I don't think it makes them that much better because their offense is the issue. The issue is not pitching. The offense is the issue. So I'm not trying to poop on everyone's parade here, but I'm excited to watch him. I don't think it helps the club and their prospects in 2025. I love the idea that this is better positioning the club to trade Freddie Peralta. Because if this is the Brewers in 2025, if that winning streak and that winning 13 to 15 or whatever it was, if that was Fugazi, then trade Freddie midseason and get something for him. And then Miz can step in and be a pacifier for the fans and also be another arm in the rotation once Freddie Peralta is gone via trade. A couple more calls here, 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's been such a wholesome caller segment. I was almost like, I'm going to ruin this. This is bad. I should just hang up. But man, we got Sun Prairie High School baseball. We got a new caller, first-time listener.
First time, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to rip it. Where's my phone? I love that.
Hey, real quick on the subject of high school sports in Wisconsin, I don't know if you saw friend of the show tweet. This is coming from Travis Wilson here. Rumor has it that high school football coaches around the state are they're going to put together a signature case here to move the state football game from Camp Randall to Lambeau Field because they feel that this administration, this coaching staff just ignores high school Wisconsin sports. I don't know if you saw that from Travis Wilson, but we could be seeing the state game move to Lambeau for the first time. How about that?
So I am blocked by Travis Wilson. I think it would be cool at Lambeau, just like it's cool but I love the reasoning behind it. I think a lot of these, like there was some coach from Lake Mills who was cocking off last week about, they never come scout our guys. It's like, okay, are you telling me that you're churning out Division I talent at Lake Mills? By the way, love Lake Mills, Jefferson County. It's a beautiful place, but come on. Like, don't you think, I don't know that the high school coaches in the state of Wisconsin have nearly the axe to grind that they seemingly want to grind. You know what I mean?
I know this is not the point of my call, but I understand that you are just you have a distaste for the north central and northwestern part of the state.
Why do people keep saying this? First of all, I think what you mean is northeastern. I think you mean northeastern in the Fox Valley. This is not true. I go there least frequently. That's it.
It's a bit. Let it ride. Let it ride. Do you know where Iola, Scandinavia is?
Yeah.
Tiny town, right? Huge 4-star tight end. There's about 5 or 6 other D1 programs, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa State. I got to that kid, offered him before Wisconsin did. So Lake Mills guy, Lake Mills doesn't have it. Iowa does. Anyways, I'm going to go in reverse order here. Brewers first, then Packers real quick.
Hold on. Go to the Packers thing. Skip right to the Packers thing. What's your Packers thing?
Okay. Packers thing, they signed Cameron Young, defensive tackle. It's a camp body. Bo Melton, great football player. They want to keep him around any way they can. Camp body. You're going to see a lot of signings here. People are going to react to this every day. They're going to react to a lot of news signings. They're all camp bodies. They're trying to keep these guys fresh for the season. Don't react to every signing, every roster move that you see. Give Bo Melton a chance to extend his football career because the average career, he's just about at it, fellas. So find a way for him to stick on some roster somewhere. And they're giving these guys a chance. So that's all these signings are going to be. And Brewers fans are insane because it's a roller coaster. There's 3 games above 500, 6-4 in the last 10. Why are we mad today?
You think I am overreacting to their failures so far in this homestand?
Not you specifically. I think baseball fans in general is exhausting. On the Twitters, it's just guys, just day by day, every game, this pitch, that pitch. It's like, man, it's a long season, and they're in a pretty good spot, much better than a month ago. So I'm happy. They're almost catching up with my Twins. So with that, Grant, I'll let you go.
I am glad that you're happy, Vagabond John. Sorry to boss your call around. It's just we have 2 more callers on hold. If you're on hold, I promise I'll get to you here in just a sec. Then just buy your newspaper every day and check the score, Vagabond John. I don't know what to tell you. If I have to watch my team strike out more than 10 times in 5 and change, like I'm going to bitch online, on the radio, because it's just not acceptable. When you're embarking in a 10-game homestand, longest of the summer, everything's coming together, you're riding the momentum of this awesome 2-week stretch where you won like 13 and 15 or something like that, and you fall this flat, like, yeah, I'm going to complain. Do we overreact night to night to our baseball thing? Yeah, but Vagabond John, you of all people should be able to appreciate that because you're a sicko. You're always online. You're calling sports radio stations. You should be thankful for baseball fans and the weird things that this sport does to its fans. You of all should appreciate this. All right, another call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Hector in Onalaska.
Hey, Hector, you son of a gun. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually Hector at Flipside right now, getting ready to dunk some people in volleyball. It makes me feel a little less middle-aged when I play volleyball because there are some people who are middle-aged and they're out here trying to do their best.
So wait, you're saying I like coming to play volleyball at Flipside because there's old people that make me feel young? Is that the crux of what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. All right, good.
That is exactly
Thank
what
you for
I'm
going to
saying,
Flipside. What a great sponsor to the show. And half-price hamburgers today because it's Tuesday.
I once tried to play volleyball at Alpine, and I got stuffed 11 times in 4 games. So I'm blaming it on the location. Never happens at Flipside. It's all about the show, Grant. You know how it is.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And the real hardos play up at Alpine. Sorry, Hector, I'm just up against it. I got to go. The legacy volleyball players play up at Alpine. They get their duff up the bluff. Some hardos play at both. I was talking to some folks at Flipside last week when we were broadcasting there on Wednesday evening, which, by the way, I will raise my hand and admit that I had never had Flipside fish tacos before. They have daily specials. So today it's like we got half-price hamburgers. Thursday is wings. Friday is the fish fry. Wednesday, I'd never had the fish tacos. Holy balls. Dave, I don't know what you're putting in those things. I will make a point to go back there and get those. Those were awesome. So Flipside Daily Specials, you know about the daily happy hour, 3 to 6, and then in the morning as well during breakfast now too, where you can get the 2-for-1s. But the daily food specials, I'd never had the fish tacos before. Holy crap. Though I would kill for 2 of those right now. I'd drive across the state for 2 of those right now if I didn't have certain expectations of being home tonight, because if I called my significant other, I had to run to La Crosse. I just want some fish tacos. She'd go, "You're insane." I said, "Yeah, I guess I am." But that's how good they are. Thank you, Hector, for calling. Good luck in your volleyball game. One more, and then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Uncle Packer.
Thank you for your
I know you're
patience,
up
Uncle
against-
Packer. You just you sat through the gauntlet there on hold.
No problem. I love the show, and I'm enjoying it. Hey, I want to say a couple Packer things.
Okay.
You know, I was thinking somebody on the 53-man roster this year has got to have the best of something. When we won the Super Bowl, I know that's ancient, but we had the best safety in the league. We had Charles Woodson. We had arguably the best quarterback. We don't have anybody in the NFL that you could say is actually in the top 3 best at their position. And I want somebody this year, like the middle linebacker, Edgerrin Cooper, excuse me.
Do you think he's probably the player with the best chance to be that, Edgerrin Cooper, I think?
I think so. Well, we'd have the best linebacking core in the NFL. We need somebody to step up, one of these receivers to take the lead, and we need to get some of the best 3 at one position or 2 or 3 positions to be more, formidable.
Okay.
We got lots of good players, but we don't have anybody that's going to pound their chest and say, "I'm taking this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best tight end in football."
Sure.
You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly.
So
I know exactly
it would
what you mean, and I think that's a different spin on something that we've talked about a lot, Uncle Packer, where it's like a lot of good players. Where are the great players? Where are the game breakers?
Yeah.
Whether they're the best in the league at what they do, but look back through the last couple Super Bowl champions, Mike. If it's not the quarterback, like I think Mahomes is better than Hurts. The Eagles probably had the best running back, and they probably had, like, you could go back through all the Super Bowl champs and find a player at the top of the league at their position.
Right. And I don't think we have that, but I hope this year somebody rears their head and says, this is me. I'm going to be the best edge rusher, or I'm going to be the best in the league, and I'm going to ball out. As for fish tacos, Mike loves, Uncle Patrick, I love some fish tacos.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I went 2 days ago. I caught 5 of the most beautiful largemouth bass. They were gorgeous. I come home, I filleted them, I cooked them in shore lunch, and I made the best fish tacos. There's nothing better than catching a fresh bass and and putting salsa on it. It was great. It was just a great meal. So I love fish tacos.
Oh yeah, they're banging. I appreciate that, Uncle Packer. And in Wisconsin, we every once in a while we need to branch out a little bit. The fish fry on Friday is delicious. Fish taco, a little bit of a different presentation. Eating largemouth bass. You're going to take some flack for that, Uncle Packer. The texts in the comments haven't come in, and there they are. Yeah, Tyler says that's nasty. You're going to take flack for largemouth bass. I won't pick on you for that. I bet they were delicious. Some will. It's just the way that it works. I don't make the rules. I apologize. When we come back, let's pick at that idea a little bit more. Let's hone in on that, because I see some comments coming in on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, for players who could be at the top of their position, players who could be those game-breaking players, not just good, but great. We can continue to hit that. A little bit more sound from up in Green Bay and some Aaron Rodgers audio. Maybe we'll do that at 5:30, talking about why he decided to come back and play football in 2025, why Pittsburgh, and he's married. We'll get his spin on that as well next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Sorry, Uncle Packer. Let's clear this right out of the way. Duncan Holman texts in 608-321-1670. Says, Bass, the bluegill are spawning. And this one, I don't have this number saved, which means they haven't texted in a while or they've never texted. This is an individual who is possessed to specifically reach out for this and this reason only. Uncle Packer says, yeah, greasy move eating bass, especially in the summer. Okay, I don't want to read the second. Okay, I'll read it. It says, I trust Joe Biden's immigration policy or Flint, Michigan tap water before that. First of all, I mean, where's the bass coming from? Is the water clean? Maybe I'm no biologist here, but if the water's clean, what type of difference does it make? What type of fish it is? A couple comments on the live stream. Tyler says, nasty. That's no bass. That's nasty. And Jerry on Twitter says, yes, we should hone in more on why anyone is eating largemouth bass. I don't know, man. Is it like, I knew he was going to get made fun of for that because fishermen always clutch their pearls when people eat bass. But does it really matter if it's coming from clean, nice water and you're filleting it up and frying it in shore lunch? Let's not pretend that we can taste the intricacies and the undertones of different flavors of different types of fish. You guys, we soak it in batter and in beer and in oil, and then we eat it with fries and coleslaw and a beer. Like, I'm sorry, does largemouth bass have a certain flavor that ruins that whole experience? I always thought that fish was more about, it's a protein that we can dunk in hot oil. That's always what I thought. But I am worse than the guy who complains about people eating largemouth bass. There are levels to annoying fishermen. I'm like 3 levels more annoying than the guy who complains about eating largemouth bass. There's the guy who complains about eating largemouth bass. Then there's the guy who complains about people keeping fish. Then there's the guy who complains about spin fishermen. I'm like 3 levels up because mostly I fly fish. Although I would spin fish for bass. You know, if I had a boat and thousands of dollars of gear and a truck to pull the boat and a house with a garage to store the boat. That's more my obstacle. I have to pick and choose. Uncle Packer, the other point that he made in that call, not just about eating largemouth bass, sounds like he made some bitchin' fish tacos. He was talking about previous Super Bowl champions, including the Packers, and how those teams typically have a player who's top of the league at their position. And some good comments have come in, and I'll just pull them from the live stream. Vagabond John talking about McKinney, Cooper, Jenkins, not Edgerrin Cooper, but Elton Jenkins at center. Like, yeah, there can be a top center in the league. I don't know how much value that's getting you Just like I don't know how much value you're getting from the top center in the league. We saw Charles Woodson make an impact. We've seen Teron Matthew make an impact. I thought players in the secondary for Tampa Bay, Antoine Winfield Jr. in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs was massive, but mostly it was the pass rush creating the chaos. Tyler says McKinney and Jacobs are pretty much already there for top 3, I'd say. I think McKinney is a top 3 safety in football. I think Jacobs is probably a top 3 running back in football too. I don't know. How much is that getting you? I think you need a quarterback who's up there. You need an edge rusher who's up there, or a pass rusher of any kind. I think the lack of pass rush remains probably my biggest concern. And I know people are freaking out that Bo Melton was taking reps at corner today. I don't care. I think corner will probably be fine unless they suffer, mass injuries. Depth could become an issue, but I think the starting group of Valentine, Nixon, and Hobbs will be fine when you consider the safety group behind them, which is excellent. Edgerrin Cooper in front of them, that's an excellent player. That safety group, or that corner group rather, should be fine, assuming their pass rush takes another step after last year. Second year in a new scheme. Lucas Van Ness without a broken thumb, hopefully no mental block. I hope he's okay. And then Kenny Clark with the toe as well. Like I'm hoping that's what we get. I'm being told that largemouth bass tastes like seaweed, or Rick. I can't say that word on the air, but he uses a different word. I don't know, man. It's fish. Smallmouth from clean waters tastes good, but other fishermen will give you looks for keeping them. Yeah, for some reason, smallmouth bass, heck of a sport fish, but the largemouth bass, not thought of in the same regard. I don't know. Again, I won't give you guff for eating fish. I'll give you guff for keeping fish or catching them with terminal tackle. So I'm way more annoying than people who complain about eating largemouth bass. Jared in DeForest says, I'll defend him. I love bass. Now, I usually eat smallmouth, but that's good eats. Man, if it swims, it tastes good. You smoke a carp, it'll taste good. You know what I mean? All those folks that fish with 5-gallon buckets under the dams, like you think they're fishing down there and then eating fish that are disgusting? They find a good way to make that carp or that sheephead. You smoke it up all nice and flaky, put it on some toasted bread or on a cracker, like a dog will hunt. That fish will eat. So thank you, Uncle Packer, for giving us a little comic relief outside of sports. Let's break a little bit early here. Shorter segment, I know, but we'll get back on track on the other side. A little bit more audio from Brian Gutekunst, but when we come back, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because he spoke to the media today, and I cut just a couple sound bites. We'll have fun with that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think obviously we've done that the past few years, and it hasn't really worked out for us. I think as we went through it was just something, we looked at a lot of different angles, what might be right for the club, and this is kind of where we ended up. But again, it was no bad blood. It's just kind of one of those things where over the last couple of years it hasn't worked out exactly like the ones who, not for no fault of anybody, just the injuries kind of took some games away from them.
As from Brian Gutekunst earlier today, I'm going to kind of reset the show a little bit. For those of you who have tuned in since 4 o'clock, you got to be here at 4. It's just a 2-hour show. Everybody has 2 hours in their day. Reset things a little bit. Just get some commentary from Brian Gutekunst. Day 1 of mandatory minicamp. Zach Heilprin was up there. So if you go to his Twitter, our sports director, you'll see some video of media avails, of practice. He was up there providing great coverage, as was Mike Clemens. We are very lucky, this network between this show and Bill's show. And I'm hoping at some point this week to get Zach on to talk about it a little bit, but he's traveling and doing a bunch of things today. So not today. Quickly, just to reset things to get everyone caught up to speed, because anytime a general manager speaks, we are going to listen, because typically they're talking after the season ends or when the season is beginning, which means important questions are asked and answered. The combine, the draft, or when something significant happens like Jair Alexander, who is paid as the top corner in the league, is released. And that comment that you heard was Brian Gutekunst answering a question of, well, what was the risk in keeping him and seeing if he could stay healthy? And his answer was, well, that's what we've been doing, which means this frustration didn't just pop up out of nowhere. This has been a 3-year struggle now where he's only been available for 50% of the games. And he was asked then, well, what took so long to release him then?
Yeah, well, I think we wanted to give it as much time as, again, he's a really good player. And so I think we wanted to give it as much time as we could. I think as he came in, had really good conversations with him on Sunday, and I just kind of felt this was what was best.
Basically, we didn't want to do this, so we went down every single avenue and every single street, and we checked every cupboard, and we made every phone call, and we probably would have kept calling, and we would have kept trying had Jair's camp not threatened to show up this week. This was 4 months. The Packers probably would have taken another month or 2 had they been allowed to do so. If Jair was like, I'll just stay home, screw it, whatever, you guys figure it out, take your time, they probably would have. But Jair and his camp smartly, very savvy, did not give the Packers that option. They said, you've had 4 months, piss or get off the pot, which is reasonable, especially from the player perspective. Brian Gutekunst asked about depth at corner. Do you think you have enough?
Well, those guys got to come through, right? I mean, I think that's like every team. I mean, some guys don't even have 2. We got 3 really good starting corners that we really like quite a bit. So, again, I think we have more depth than most. But in those back, some of those guys are young guys that haven't played a lot of football. So, but that's usually the case. And I'm excited to see get those guys get the opportunities and see what they can do.
I don't mind Nixon. I don't mind Hobbs. I don't mind Valentine. I think you could do a lot worse. And I've seen Packers teams over the last decade or two that have done worse. Tony brought up Ladarius Gunter earlier. Ladarius Gunter could not hold a candle to any of these three guys. And these are three guys that most Packers fans aren't going to throw a party for, right? If one or two of them goes down, it's very reasonable, they might be in a tricky spot. And that's where the Packers' lack of draft capital is going to hurt them. If they had spent a second-round pick last year and a sixth-round pick this year, then you feel a lot better about that room. Or last year, had they taken a corner in the third, and then this year they had taken one in the fourth, you'd at least have some youth kind of in the works, bubbling up behind that front line of Hobbs, Nixon, and Valentine. And for a lot of you, like, people bitch and whine about Nixon. Guys, he wasn't that bad last year. I'm not telling you he's an amazing outside corner, but considering he had just changed positions, like, I think the Packers did pretty well, and they probably got better performance from here last year. Probably got better cornerback play than they deserved last year, considering the way that they managed that roster and neglected it in the draft for the likes of Jordan Morgan or others, picks that they spent throughout the draft last year. Brian Gutekunst, lastly, talked about their cap space. They have $45 million now, and there's a couple of important points that he mentions in here, so listen closely.
We feel very good about our cap situation, our flexibility to do things not only with our players here, but if anything comes across that we may want to do. So we're like we've talked about in the past, we're in a pretty good spot right now. We'd like to keep it that way, but I think some things will come across today that you'll see that we'll be taking more of that on this year.
So 3 things that are mentioning there. So at the very end, logistical housekeeping thing where he says, we're taking all of the cap hit on Jair this year. We're not going to spread it out. We moved it around and made it work. So we are eating all of this. Jair will be done and off our books after the season. And earlier I mentioned dead cap, and I can't remember which caller was like, well, I don't know what dead cap is. I don't care. Dead cap is essentially money spent on a player that's not on your roster, right? Jair isn't here anymore. So any money that charges against the Packers sheet in 2025 is dead cap. The thing that's kind of funny with Jair is last year they spent 17 million bucks, whatever his base salary was. Last year, it wasn't considered dead cap because he was on the team, but practically and effectively might as well be the same thing because he wasn't playing. So dead cap now versus last year, whatever. He hasn't played enough to make this contract worth it, which is the Packers' issue, which is why they've released him. A little bit from Matt LaFleur. Bo Melton taking reps at corner. What's that about?
Obviously, he's a real talented player and is produced, and I just love everything about the guy. How he shows up every day, ready to compete and give his best effort. Matter of fact, I showed some clips of him in the team meeting this morning, just of what he does, and you can always expect a lot of great things, whatever it is he's doing.
And LaFleur then asked, could he actually pull this off and play corner in an NFL game for an NFL team?
I just thought that if there is somebody that could potentially do both, he would be that guy. And I think a lot of it is just from his production on teams and just his ability to go out there and make play on teams.
He's a football player. He's not just an athlete. He's a football player. Give me a football player. Well-rounded football player. Matt LaFleur admitting it's a little bit of an experiment. And hey, Packers fans who are losing their mind over this today, it's the first day of mandatory minicamp. He could play lineman for all I care.
It's going to be pretty fluid, I would say. I kind of presented it to him, and I know obviously there's a lot of attention with Hunter down there in Jacksonville, what he's doing. And so we just kind of presented it to him, and he said he was up for the challenge.
All right. Same question that was asked to Gutey. How do you feel about your depth?
Kind of a work in progress right now. I mean, we don't have pads on or anything like that. And there's a lot of limitations in regards to what you can and can't do. So I think there's a lot of wait and see in terms of who are going to be the other guys. I think we know that 3 of those guys have gone out and played significant snaps. And we got a lot of young guys that are just kind of unknown.
All right, well, it's not a particularly interesting answer, but there you go. Just checking the box. That's how he feels about corner depth. And lastly, from Matt LaFleur, how does Jordan Morgan look?
I mean, again, it's kind of hard right now with just the time that we're in. But yeah, as far as like his movement skills and all that, he looks great.
So I think Jordan Morgan probably has to start this year and play well for Packers fans to feel better about how that draft pick went last year, because they could have a corner on the roster. They could have another corner in that room, a younger guy who's entering his prime, not someone who changed positions or not someone like Hobbs, who a little boundary, little inside. Like they could have a tried and true boundary corner had they selected one in the first round last year instead of Jordan Morgan. And I'm fine with draft picks taking a little while to come along, but they do have to come along and they eventually have to become something. And if Jordan Morgan doesn't this year, I'm going to start to look back at last year's draft, and then I'm going to look at the cornerback room and say, okay, was this really the best allocation of resources? Let's take a call, then we'll take our final break, have a little fun with some Aaron Rodgers audio. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is John in Cornell.
Hey, John, what's going on?
Hey, I've been wanting to call in. Everybody, there's all these great callers, and I'm like, geez, Liz, I got to chip in on this party.
It's been a busy day on the phones, which I like. I think the Packers talk helps, and the fact that Bo Melton's playing corner has people riled up.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of Bo Melton, so Bo Melton, I think, is a great player. There are two takeaways. I don't have anything against trying out a player at cornerback.
Okay.
I think, hey, why not? If he played it in college or whatever, I don't blame him. It would be the same as an offensive lineman. Well, he played center. He could play left tackle. So why not?
Yep.
Why not? It's the same thing. However, the only thing I would say is this. If the Packers get a bunch of injuries at cornerback, obviously this is all riding on an if they have a bunch of injuries at quarterback, he ends up playing all kinds of time, doesn't pan out, isn't as good as they thought or for whatever reasons, and then they go to the playoffs, and let's say some wide receiver burns them in the heat of the playoffs, that's going to be on Gutey's head because Gutey should have drafted somebody in the top 3 rounds. There's always great cornerbacks in the top 3 rounds of the draft. To me, it didn't make any sense that he didn't draft at least one.
Well, and it didn't have to be this year. It could have been last year, right? The Packers have not drafted corner high. It's been 2 7th-round picks the last 2 years. And
correct.
Okay, so if the board didn't fall for them, John, this year the way that they liked, okay, well, what about last year? Because just one extra body that you feel excited about, like if they had Jordan Morgan but in corner form in that room, I think many Packers fans would feel a lot better about this group.
Yes, and the other thing I would say is this would be the other point that I would say. If he knew going into the draft that Jair Alexander may or may not pan out, why would you not pick somebody this year, last year? It could have been last year, sure. You should have thought that before now.
Especially considering so many Packers reporters have said the die has been cast for months. Like nobody seems surprised by this, so I don't think Gutey is surprised by this. He had to know that this was at least a pretty decent possibility.
Or he is that confident in the cornerbacks he has and in the scheme that is coached by the defensive coordinator that, hey, everything's going to work out just fine. It's a roll of the dice, but I mean, who knows? If Bo Melton pans out, great. But if he turns out to not be what we want, then now what? Now we're out another cornerback for another year or whatever, and we could have had 1 or if not 2 years, like you're saying, with a veteran. That's all I had to say. God bless. See you around.
Appreciate it, John. Thanks for calling in, Cornell. And I think there's certainly a part of Gutey having confidence in these guys. I think he likes these guys more than most. Whether he's right or wrong, I think at this point we need to recognize that he thinks Valentine and Nixon and Hobbs are solid. And he thought that last year too, which is why he hasn't drafted. I think apart from also wanting O-line and wanting to build up other parts of the team, he just likes these guys. There is a legit confidence in this room that I think is not shared by most Packers people or media people. Wisco Sports Show, take us home. One final call. Who's this?
Eric on 990.
Eric, good evening.
Good evening. The Jair saga is over.
Yeah, thank God, too.
Almost.
Well, we got to talk about it for a couple of days, which is what we're doing now.
Let's talk about it for a couple of days. Are you sad?
No, because we weren't getting anything juicy from this. Like when we didn't know if Rodgers would be back, at least there was a different report every week. There was something. This Jair, there was nothing. Nobody was really reporting anything interesting. So let's just wrap it up and we'll move on to the next thing.
I think you guys, I told Ebo this morning that Packer Nation was kind of like looking at the ghost of Christmas past, which I hear.
Yeah.
Hoping that things would be better. And then you look to the ghost of Christmas present and he wasn't there. And then the future didn't look much brighter for him.
Well, and that's what Gutekunst said today when asked, like, hey, why not just bring him back and see if he could stay healthy? And his answer was, well, that's what we've been doing. That's what we've done the last 2 years. Right. And I think that answer is pretty telling on how they felt about this for the last few years.
Right. So I'm hoping he doesn't show up in Minnesota. But, if they can get him for $4 or $5 million a year, why not?
Well,
That's
why not?
probably
I was actually checking the odds, and the NFC North teams, for whatever these odds are worth, are actually near the bottom, which surprises me.
That is surprising. So, but anyways, I'm glad it's over for you.
I'm glad you're looking out for my well-being and the content of the show. Appreciate it, Eric. I got to take one last break because speaking of Christmas past, Aaron Rodgers spoke today, and I cut a couple of the sound bites because they're just classic Aaron Rodgers. So we'll listen to those next as we wrap up the show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Big River Rally, coming to La Crosse, Wisconsin, June 27th and 28th. Don't miss the excitement on the main stage. Friday night, it's Texas Hippie Coalition. And Saturday night, Drowning Pool. Tickets are on sale now. Want more? Follow Big River Rally on social or go to BigRiverRally.com.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Left ring finger, is that an Oura ring or anything else? That wedding ring?
Yeah, it's a wedding ring.
Congratulations.
Thank you. How long ago? It's been a couple months.
That's Aaron Rodgers today. Let's wrap up the show with a little Rodgers audio. It was a staple of this show for a long time. We stayed fat and happy. We stayed fed on Aaron Rodgers sound bites from his weekly presser, from the McAfee show. He's married. Congratulations. I am willing to bet moving forward he will not refer to his part. I assume it's a woman. I'm 99% sure it's a woman. I don't even think I don't even have a hunch that he's gay. The problem is, as soon as you assume in 2025, someone crawls up your butt. I would imagine that he will not refer to his wife as his wife. I will imagine he'll say partner, because God knows this guy doesn't use normal language for anything. It's not my friends or my family. It's my inner circle, or it's my folks, even though that he didn't use folks to mean family. Just that guy. I had a question earlier. Tony in Texas said, "Hey, Grant, why is Rodgers playing football this year? Why is it?" And I said, "Tony, we'll get to that." Here is Aaron Rodgers answering that exact question. You said you pondered retirement heavily in the offseason. So what gives? What made you want to come back and play another season?
I mean, I think that's what it is. Like, I don't need it for my ego. I don't need it to keep playing. A lot of decisions that I've made over my career in life, from strictly the ego, even if they turn out well, are always unfulfilling. But the decisions made from the soul are usually pretty fulfilling. So this was a decision that was best for my soul. And I felt like being here with Coach T and the guys that got here, and the opportunity here was the best for me. And I'm excited to be here.
So that's a very poignant, nice answer. And I have no problem with any of it. If I ran a football team, I would have a huge issue with the first few seconds.
I mean, I think that's what it is. Like, I don't need it.
Out. No interest. You're not my quarterback. You're about to turn 42, and you don't think you need football. I need you at that age to be so obsessed and to be so bought in that you, like, I need to play football because I don't know what else I would do.
I think that's what it is. Like, I don't need it. For my ego, I don't need it.
I don't need it. I forget your ego. Do you need to be a football player? Do you need, I need to keep playing. I'm going to play as long as I can because I don't know what I'm going to do without football. And of course, that's not like Rodgers would tell you, well, it's important to have a larger perspective, and it's important to, have identity outside of the sport. And it's important to take time away. And all of that is true. But if you're going to win at a high level at age 42, you can't. You need to be that obsessed, and you need to be that bought in, and you need to be that dialed in and locked in. Out. And to be fair to all parties involved, Rodgers probably would have rather played with the Rams or the Vikings. And if you take Adam Schefter's reporting at face value, the Steelers would have rather had Matt Stafford or Justin Fields. So here we are. I'm excited to watch. Congrats on Aaron Rodgers and his nuptials, the lucky lady, or whoever it is. I'll talk to you tomorrow at 4. Let's all wish each other luck watching